We'll be talking about Unit 7, Day 14, the Law of Sines. Law of Sines come after our lessons of Pythagorean theorem, where we had a right triangle and we solved for a missing side. Then we learned about special right triangles, the 45, 45, 90 and the 30, 60, 90, and how to solve for a missing side or identify if you had a special right triangle by its sides. Then we learned about trigonometry. We used SOHCAHTOA to help determine which trig function to use, and we could solve for a side or even an angle. Now, all of those used a right triangle, required a right triangle. Now we can solve for a triangle even if it's not a right triangle, even if it doesn't have a 90-degree angle. This lesson is about law of sines. So we have our side A over the sine of angle A, side B over the sine of angle B, side C over the sine of angle C. The capital letters are your angles, the small case letters are your sides. Notice that in a triangle you have your angles for A, B, and C. Side A has to be across from angle A. Side B has to be across from angle B, and side C has to be across from angle C. So when you start to fill out your proportion, you'll know what sides represent what letters. Also, when we are picking our proportion, we're going to use two fractions. So in some cases, we won't have any numbers for one of the letters, so that's an easy one to rule out. But it is a requirement to pick a fraction that you have both numbers for, pick a fraction for which you're trying to solve for one of the letters, either the side or the angle. So let's try this with example number 1. So to find side C, that tells us that we're definitely going to use the C fraction. Now I have to pick another fraction that I have information for. B, I have its angle and the side. Angle A and side A, I don't have information for. So we're not going to use A at all. Some of you might notice that we could solve for angle A by taking 180 and subtracting the angles would give us that measurement of A. But I still don't have the side. I can't have two unknowns. I already don't know side C. So we'll use B and sine of B. Try to write the proportion with the letters first. That'll be sure that then when you plug in your numbers, you know exactly where they're going to go. A common mistake is plugging the numbers in the wrong spot. Side B is always across from angle B, so that's going to be the 7. Angle B is 35. Side C is what we're solving for, so we don't know what that is. But angle C is across from that, so that's 105. So now we're going to cross multiply. We could cross multiply both directions if you want to, but we'll end up dividing by sine of 35 anyway to get to C by itself. So we're going to take 7 times the sine of 105 divided by the sine of 35. That gives us the C all by itself. And then with your calculator, we'll type in 7 times the sine of 105. If your calculator uses parentheses, be sure to close the parenthesis off around the degree value, divided by sine of 35. That gives us 11.79. Be sure you know how to use your calculator to get the same value. Next, we'll solve example 2. We're looking for angle B. Angle B is our unknown value. Angle B is going to be across from side B. Angle C is going to be across from side C. So of course, we're going to use B, sine of B, and C, sine of C again. Side B is 4.7. Angle B is our unknown. Side C is 5.5. Sine of 63 is our C value. Here we do need to cross multiply both directions because our variable that we're solving for is on the bottom of the fraction. So we need to bring that up next to the 5.5. 4.7 times the sine of 63 and 5.5 times the sine of B. Now we want the sine of B by itself, so we're going to divide by the 5.5 to both sides of our equal sign. So using our graphing calculator, we'll take 4.7 times the sine of 63. Be sure to use parentheses around your angle value to close that off, so when you divide by 5.5, that'll come out okay. So that gives us 0.7614 is the sine of B. Now it's important for you to write all 4 numbers down. Don't just say 0.8. Don't just say 0.76. Be sure to use all 4 numbers. Even though to solve this, we're going to use the answer button, and I'll show you how to do that on your calculator. We're going to solve for the sine of B. Or that is the sine of B. We're going to solve for angle B. To get the B by itself, we're going to move the sine. You can't really divide by sine, but in mathematics, to solve for the angle, we're going to do sine inverse of 0.7614. And that's going to be the measurement of angle B. So when we use our calculator and we got that 0.7614, use that whole value across your calculator. Sine inverse. Now on your calculator you should have an ANS button. It's typically down at the bottom. Sometimes you have to hit second to get to it on the graphing calculators. This type of calculator has it as an actual key. But I'm going to type that button, and that brings up the previous answer. So 0.7614, and all the other numbers that are after that. It gives you the exact answer, not a rounded number. So be sure you can get 49.588, which is 0.59. So the measure of angle B is going to be 49.59, and those are degrees. On the next page, we're given a list of information. Draw your picture. Be sure to always draw a figure in geometry. It really helps you organize and see the data. Notice that one of the angles they give us is 53, another angle is 44. So 50s and 40s add up into the 90s. So I know that this is going to be the biggest angle, or it's bigger than 90. So I know that the other angle is less than 90. In other words, I have an acute triangle. Angle A, B, and C. It really doesn't matter where you put the A, B, and C. I usually put them in clockwise order, but it wouldn't matter as long as your side B is across from your angle B. Your angle B is 44. Your angle C is 53. And they're asking you to solve for AB. Well, segment AB is the same thing as side C. So that's what we don't know, side C. So since we're solving for side C, we're going to definitely use the fraction of C over sine C. And again, they give us information for B. So again, I'm not going to work with A. You could figure out angle A by subtracting from 180, but I still wouldn't know the opposite side. I need to have 2 bits of information to solve for this. I have the 7 and the opposite angle. So that's my 2 bits of information. That's a fraction that I know the top and bottom for. You have to have that every time you do law of sines. Well, solving for side C, angle C is 53 degrees. So we'll cross multiply. This is that situation where there's no need for me to multiply the sine of 44 over to here, because I'm just going to divide it right back again. So 7 times the sine of 53 divided by the sine of 44 equals side C. So we'll take our 7 times the sine of 53, and we're going to divide that by the sine of 44. Use your calculator and be sure that you can get the value of 8.05. For the last example, we're looking for the measure of angle C. We noticed that the other angle is 97. So 97 is greater than 90. So it's going to be the largest angle. So it's an obtuse angle. You can put angle B and C in either location. It wouldn't matter. I know that A has to be across from angle A. We're trying to solve for angle C, so that's the angle that I'm looking for. So I definitely need to know about its opposite side. And I could put down the B equals 9, but I'm not going to use that since I have the fraction of 22 over the sine of 97 and 19 over the sine of C. So my fraction is going to be the A and the C's. So that comes out to be 22 over the sine of 97 and 19 over the sine of C. To solve for this, we'll cross multiply. We want to cross multiply here in both directions because the C, we're looking for the angle, and it's on bottom. So whenever you're solving for the angle, you need to cross multiply both directions. That gets us 22 times the sine of C, which equals 19 times the sine of 97. So the sine of C is supposed to be 19 times the sine of 97 divided by 22. So we get that to be 0.8572. Because this is 719, we're going to round that to become 72. That's the sine of C. Now we don't want to know what the sine of C is. We want to know what angle C is. So the measurement of angle C is going to be the sine inverse of 0.8572. To calculate that, we'll use shift or second sine. Now I'm going to use the answer key because I want that whole decimal and all the numbers to be involved. And that gives me that the measure of angle C is 59 degrees.